Assemblymember Kevin Kiley wrote after the trial, "Our trial against Governor Newsom has just concluded, and the judge said she will be issuing a ruling in very short order. That probably means by the end of the week." Kiley and Gallagher argued that California's Constitution has an explicit separation of powers provision, which Governor Newsom has violated. A California governor is constitutionally forbidden from doing the very thing Governor Newsom has done here, exercise legislative power. "I'm not sure that the governor's attorneys really provided any legal argument to defend his conduct," he said. "I hope it will be an important moment for our state in putting an end to this idea that we can have an autocracy for 8 months with no end in sight. With no decision by the court, there is another delay, which translates into the tyranny of one-man rule continues." Given the behavior of the judge during the trial, this should not be a surprise. It was clear the judge had no grasp of the constitutional argument being laid down by Assembly members James Gallagher and Kevin Kiley. The judge appeared by those in the court and those watching on Facebook to be strained for understanding of the constitutional basics of separation of powers. After 9 months of dictatorial rule, there is an additional delay by the California judge. Delay for the governor is good. The governor remains in power by way of the Emergency Services Act. He is able to continue the distraction away from California's real problem, insolvency, an issue that will destroy California. In May 2020, New California State reported California had cash deficit of over $85 billion. The California's Legislative Analyst Office, the LAO, agreed. Today, that deficit number has grown to over $120 billion. The governor is doing nothing but keeping businesses and communities closed. It appears the governor's only hope is that his auntie, Nancy Pelosi, attempts to get a federal bailout. In the past, California was able to get bailouts when it filed bankruptcy in 1935. In 2000, it had a $14 billion cash deficit, and in 2010, a $42 billion cash deficit. These bailouts were from Democratic administrations. In 2020, there's a new Republican administration, and it sees California's cash deficits differently, as recent posts on Twitter reveal. President Donald Trump on Wednesday said he didn't see any way Democrats and Republicans would agree for a deal for coronavirus relief, despite House Speaker Nancy Pelosi remaining optimistic about finalizing a stimulus package before Election Day. In a tweet Wednesday, he tried to pin the blame for a deadlock in spending discussions on Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Pelosi is proposing a $2.2 trillion package, while the Trump administration is offering $1.88 trillion. Though Trump has said he'd like an even bigger deal than what Pelosi has offered. Just don't see any way Nancy Pelosi and crying Chuck Schumer will be willing to do what is right for our great American workers or our wonderful USA itself on stimulus, the president posted on Twitter. Their primary focus is bailing out poorly run and high-crime Democrat cities and states, he said. This most likely refers to the money Democrats want for state and local governments, which have seen tax revenue plummet as economic activity slowed during the pandemic. New Californians, nor the President of the United States, will be distracted. Today, the California governor's words and actions are a grave danger to all U.S. citizens living in California, while the state continues to operate outside the authorities of the U.S. Constitution. For New Californians, it is our God-given right, it is our duty to protect our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution, and our Bill of Rights with all means necessary from a craven dictator. New Californians will not comply. We request the President of the United States act immediately to remedy these abuses by the California state and declare a state of insurrection exists in California. The government of California, the current socialist/dictator and monoparty system, along with local officials, are following a coordinated design with the intent to actively engage in acts of insurrection against the U.S. Constitution. The Insurrection Act of 1807 and the Emergency Economic Powers Act are United States federal laws that govern the ability of the President of the United States to deploy military troops within the United States to put down lawlessness, insurrection, and rebellion. The California government, in conjunction with the socialist state executive, instituted wherever the current socialist governor/dictator has usurped power, has actively engaged in acts of secession, and have created a reign of terror on United States citizens living in California, with the intent to secede from the United States of America, to thus destroy the very union of states which secures our liberty and freedom. Betrayal by the sitting socialist governor/dictator of California, the monoparty legislature, and local elected officials is evidence of abdication of their responsibilities of authority and sovereignty over the citizens of the United States living in California State. The citizens of New California State pray for the President to exercise his authority under the Insurrection Act of 1807 or the Emergency Economic Powers Act to end the tyranny being foisted upon the United States citizens living in California State.